Right, good evening everyone, how are you all doing? It's been a few days, but hey, hope you're all having a wonderful time. Just gonna drop the music down a bit, but yeah, it's been a while, and maybe we do some more casual painting? So, I'll say a little bit clickbait with the characters, the Emperor's Children out. Be good. We could work on some of the other, well, just generally Emperor's Children stuff. Like this squad of Mark Assault Marines we made a while ago. And just have a bit of time to catch up, basically. Talk about how things are, and plans, and all of those fun things. Doing that with the lighting works a lot better, doesn't it, for actually showing how pink these are? Right. There we go. I suppose first things work. I'm trying to remember what gold I was using. Yeah, good to hear that you're doing okay, Connor. It's never not gonna sound suspicious when I'm shaking paint bottles. Oh well. Was it Regency Gold I was using? There, I'm just loading up my palette again. I'm trying to remember what gold it was I was using. Yeah, it's Regency Gold. I'll put that there. Is at some point I started putting the trim and stuff on this guy, really badly messed it up. So also it seems to be darker. Oh, it does just seem to be a trick of the lighting. Start just by doing trim again on him because it doesn't look too clean. There you go. Yeah, it's really interesting how the moment I pick up a model, color seems to be shifting. Good evening, I'm down by the sea and all the corrosions give me Death Guard inspiration for a custom seafaring chapter. Yeah, The last time I went on board HMS Belfast in London, I took a huge amount of pictures of all the corrosion and damage from just nature that she's been taking. As like a reference of like what does rust and like the natural weathering look like on a ship which is being serviced. Yeah, and I do occasionally look back on those pictures when I paint vehicles. Hey Faz, how's it going? Probably not. I really don't enjoy how 40k plays, and for me personally, I really need that justification of these are playing pieces to collect Warhammer. And if I have no intention of playing it in a game, it's pretty difficult for me to justify having it. So I probably won't end up buying any 40k Emperor's Children unless they're like really incredible. So I won't have that motivation or inspiration to play the game because I just don't enjoy how 40k plays in its current iterations. Hey Alex. Could be better. That's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do a stream. We can talk about things. We're off the old watch from about reps. I'm really liking it now. Yeah, it's me honestly. Fantasy and now the old world has always been one of those games which has always felt like, I guess the best way to describe it is the most immersive. So you really do feel when you're playing Warhammer Fantasy or the Old World that you know, you are really like watching or spectating or like commanding a battle. And the grand strategy and the satisfaction of pulling off the maneuvers you're trying to pull off, and the flow of battle just feels better than most other Warhammer games. Ooh. Camera's having a hissy fit. It just feels a bit better than most other Warhammer game. That'll be why. The camera died, that's fun. We'll see what happens when I plug it directly into the wall instead of computer. It will lag a bit once it wakes up. Yeah, no worries, Beskar. Thanks for dropping by. You know, also have a small technical issue. Kind of brings me on somewhat to one of the things I wanted to talk about recently, which I guess not to sugarcoat it, whilst I'm just a talking black screen, is my my mental health at the moment. As you guys probably noticed, I just kind of disappeared for a few days. And it just seems like at the moment for me, and nothing seems to really be going right. And it's been really getting to me. So as you guys probably know, still searching for a job. And it's been really brutal. Because like one of the jobs, without going into like too much detail to like give away like people's identities and stuff, I thought I was basically gonna get. Like I got on really well with all of the team members. They were even joking about like painting Warhammer and playing games against each other. And you know, I even felt like I was in the mood to fire up Darktide and play that with them, because a bunch of them regularly played Darktide together. And then I got a message a couple of weeks later saying, actually no, sorry, we're not giving you the job. I was like, okay, can I have some feedback as to why? And I've basically just been ghosted by the company, which is fun. And this is like the third or fourth company to have done this now to me. And that's really hit me. And yeah, oh, phone's almost on again. And as you guys are probably aware from last week, I got Helldivers, and that game is a huge amount of fun, and I really was enjoying playing that game. And yeah, but the game doesn't work. The game is completely broken for me now. And yeah, I can't actually play it. Right, there we go. Camera's back on. So yeah, as I was saying, Helldivers has completely broken for me. Whenever I try and start the game, the computer just blue screens. And I know I was having issues not too long ago with my computer, but I've tried doing everything I can to try and force every other application to blue screen, or do anything in the past like what it would, to try and see if it's an issue with my computer rather than Helldivers. No, it just seems to be Helldivers. The only game I haven't tested yet is Darktide, but yeah, geez, I'm not playing Darktide. I'm not reinstalling that game. That game has, well, burnt me so many times at this point. I may as well get back with my ex. It's, you know, it would be that stupid to go back to at this point, right? And, yes, so, I am on the Helldivers Discord server. And, it turns out there is a huge amount of people having the same issue recently. And, the Helldivers support staff just don't seem to be existent over there on the Helldivers Discord. I filed a report saying about the issues in as much detail as I can, bearing in mind that professionally for the last 7 years I've been an IT guy doing, you know, support stuff. So, you know, I've tried to do as much detail as I can, and I've basically been left on red by them. And so has everyone else for like the last 3 days who've asked for help on the Discord server for Helldivers. To a point where it seems like it's effectively unregulated, and a lot of the people trying to provide support and help are just other people within the community who are developing and coming up with solutions to try and help people having issues with the game. Which is great to see, you know, I think that's a really good thing that the community is getting together and trying to help one another. But there's just a complete absence of communication from the actual developers or the company that produces Helldivers, which is not a good look. So if you are friends with me on Steam, you'll notice I've put a review on Steam of Helldivers. And it has the distinct honour of being my second ever negative review of a game. Because I can't recommend or suggest people buy a game which I can't physically play anymore. Yeah, but they could at least communicate, hey, they're trying to fix the issue. Put some communication out saying, yes, hey, we acknowledge that our latest patch has broken the game for most people and causing you significant issues trying to use your computer. You know, that's like, you know, basic courtesy. So, yeah, that's also really got me, because right now it's like I guess to use like Warhammer terms, I have huge leadership debuffs right now. It's like my morale is pretty fucking low at the moment. It doesn't take much at the moment to make me just kind of give up on things. Like, I honestly almost stopped, well, almost didn't bother streaming today because I was missing one of these guys. I couldn't find them. I just like, oh fuck, I can't be bothered to go through it. Because I've been in a very similar situation with the Mark 6 Assault Marines, where for the longest time I've only been able to find 9 of them. Rather than the entire unit of 10. And so I'm at a point where almost all of them, all of the 9 that I had found are painted, but I can't use them. And well, I say recently, but a couple of weeks ago, I found the 10th one, and that was just like, oh, okay, cool. My interest in painting these guys has dipped quite significantly because of that. And it was basically the same with these guys. It was just like, oh god, I can't be bothered to like go through that entire process again, because this is how I like painting, like doing it in batches. And then yeah, when it comes to streaming as well, it's like, I don't seem to be getting views anymore. And I'm just struggling to work out what it is. Like, you guys probably noticed, like, a fair few posts on the Discord server at this point, and me going like, hey guys, what content do you like to see? What will you be interested in seeing? What is it you actually want to watch me do? And it's starting to feel a lot like no matter what I do, people aren't showing up anymore. And I get it, like, you know, it's like my interest in terms of what streamers and what YouTubers I watch has definitely faded over time and switched around. And yeah, it's just been difficult trying to work out what to do. As it felt like the old world stuff has been kind of sabotaged by Games Workshop, and I was kind of hoping that you know, the old world stuff would actually really take off. And it just seems, because Games Workshop has continuously just completely kneecapped that product range at every opportunity, it feels like well, it's kind of a wasted investment. Oh, this is a thing, right? Is not too long ago, I kinda could. I kind of could just do whatever I wanted, because I know there was always a group of you who just enjoyed hanging out with me and just staying around, and were entertained by just like spending the evenings with me, and that was a really cool feeling, and you know, it gave me a lot of confidence, because I knew that as long as we were all having a good time, it didn't really matter what I was doing, because you guys would enjoy, you know, just having me around. And that's not really true anymore by the looks of things. And I know it's like one of the big things when like YouTubers say and streamers say is, hey, don't get too caught up in the numbers, don't worry about the numbers, don't look at them. But yeah, it's like I've said, and trying to keep things positive, but I don't have a job at the moment. I can't afford this month's rent, and right now, me streaming to the amount of people I am streaming to, it's putting me very close to Twitch saying, actually no, you're not getting enough viewers. for us to keep you having an affiliate status on your stream, on your channel. And I could lose I could be, lose my monetization options because of how badly my streams seem to be doing. So as much as I'd like to be like, hey, yeah, cool, I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do, and you guys are gonna enjoy it anyway, because I'm enjoying myself. Probably gonna be taken a bit out of context. Why did that light go out? Huh. Okay. Yeah, it's difficult at the moment. Sorry for my light to turn itself off there. Really caught me off guard and lose my train of thought. So yeah, I have to ask you guys on Discord what you actually want to see. Why the fuck does it keep going off? That's really annoying and really confusing. It's never done this before. Yeah, it just kind of feels like I don't actually know what you guys want me to do. Because even when I do ask you guys on Discord, hey, what do you want to see me do? It doesn't seem to have any impact on, review numbers. Right, hopefully the light will stay on for a few moments. And that definitely starting to feel a bit like a metaphor at this point. Yeah, and just don't know what to do really. It's going to take a moment to just watch the switch for this light.
There's a little light on it. I just want to see if it, like the power supply is going or something.
Right, hopefully it behaves. I've plugged it into a different power source, hopefully. Now, it'll stay turned on. Yeah, basically I wanted today to just have an opportunity to talk with you guys about what stuff you actually enjoy watching me do on streams. Because I'm at a loss. Hey Brent, how's it going? suppose that's a thing as well. It's like I'm starting to run out of Warhammer models to paint in terms of Horus Heresy stuff. Thankfully I have, you know, a nice stream of old world models to paint. Yeah, it's an issue at the moment with painting minis. I need minis to paint. And hey Fire Smoke and Brora, how's it going? Yeah, painting my Emperor's Children. At the moment doing all the gold trim, always mark for assaults. That sounds so good. Yeah, it's just a pretty stressful time at the moment. And, yeah, just responding to what Aberrant said before you two showed up. Yeah, ultimately, for you guys, like, the most important thing for you is that you guys are having the best time you can possibly have with your lives and doing whatever it is that makes you guys happiest. As your lives always come first. And that applies to any situation. I know, like, in society we always, like, you know, encourage people to, like, help one another and put each other before ourselves. There is always a line in which you need to look after yourselves and put yourself first. And where that line is entirely depends on how you are. And, yeah. Don't feel guilty about not watching my streams. The reasons why I ask you guys what you'd like to watch me stream is because you guys are my community. You are the people I enjoy hanging out with, and if there were to be more people joining this community, I'd want them all to be as excellent as you guys are. So, when it comes to me choosing what I stream, I want it to be heavily influenced by you guys and what you guys enjoy seeing me do, or the things I enjoy doing. So when I ask you guys, hey, what do you want to watch me stream, it's not because I expect you, everyone who votes for that specific thing on Discord or says they want to watch me do that specific thing, to be there and stream, because I want more people like you to also be watching the streams when they can, or they want to. Like, just to clarify, because I don't want anyone feeling guilty about me being all, like, depressive and, moany. Well, Max, I didn't think there was 295 people who are as excellent as you guys in chat currently are around, but that's how many people follow me on Twitch. You know, I have closer to 400 subscribers over on YouTube as well. So, you know, there's quite a few people who are as awesome as you guys, and you know, I found that surprising. I still find it surprising that there's this many people who have excellent tastes, you know. See, go down second. Yeah, I have to agree with Hamish on that one, but if you do need to take ibuprofen, do so in a sensible and, you know, safe level. Sadly, shoulder pads are used by episodes were taken down by Games Workshop. Felt really glum about working on them now. This is why I data hoard everything. There's a lot of like 3D printers, well, 3D file, like, you know, digital designers that I support and follow closely, and whenever they upload stuff, even if I have every confidence it was staying up because it's like a BattleTech thing, or you know, it's not just like how to say it, like blatantly ripping off someone else's intellectual property. I still download it. I have a server in this room, and on there is a significantly large amount of STL files or object files. Of all the things which I'd ever want to print or ever have printed. And I actively spend time going through websites like Cults and stuff, trying to find stuff which I think I'd actually want, and either buying it then or downloading it, depending on if it's free or not, and backing it up just in case. Which also means, in the event that there is, you know, STL files you guys miss the opportunity to download and find, then, you know, if there's a chance I might have those files. No, it's like, I know they're not exactly the most popular things, Aberrant, but I probably will start doing those kinds of streams again, just because on some nights, because it's like, it's one of those places which I kind of use as like I don't really like using the phrase because it's kind of been poisoned by people being just terrible people and mocking it, but it's like, I consider the Assetto Corsa streams and like that driving as like kind of like one of my safe spaces, like one of those places I escape to. It's like on nights in which I just can't sleep and I can't focus on anything, I will just put on my VR headset and just drive around Tokyo in Assetto Corsa. And yeah, I think those streams will probably come back in like a more fixture in like a more fixed way. Hey Mac, you can't see chat, right? You seem to be really cursed. Like, honestly, I find it really impressive. How committed you are to trying to watch my streams, even though at this point, you can't watch your videos. You, can't read chat, and they still seem to buffer audio-wise from what I remember. Like, I find it really impressive, Nick, that you hang out and still spend time here. I think honestly one of the best confidence boosters, even though at this point it's mostly just confusion rather than confidence boosting. Because I'm not sure I'd have the patience to stick to trying to watch streams like that. Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. The most dedicated viewer is definitely Nick. That's impressive. So yeah, the MechWarrior stuff, like, is one of those things I want to talk about as well. As you know, it seemed to be going really successfully and really well in terms of like popularity for a while. No, it's like I'm a recognized name in MechWarrior Online. Like people recognize me in chat and go like, "Oh shit, hey, it's Tuppy," or "Oh god, it's Tuppy." And no, it's like the end of year, New Year event they had going on where, you know, it's like hunt for streamers. And like seeing my name, you know, wedged in there with in between two of the largest names when it comes to MechWarrior Online content was really, really cool to see. And something I definitely didn't expect to be happening. And also just like how you know, it's like welcoming and how friendly everyone in the MechWarrior Online community seems to be as well. So it's like really surprised me and like been really heartwarming, really, to know that there is an online PvP game with such a great core community. Because like, especially when you compare MechWarrior Online to the other similar styled PvP games that have been around just as long, in the form of like War Thunder, World of Tanks. Suppose you can even throw in League of Legends, and the communities that surround those games, right? It's incredibly impressive to me to know that MechWarrior Online has a community which is just the polar opposite of the communities for those games. Which is, you know, why Fridays are, generally speaking, going to be always committed to MechWarrior Online, because it's a game full of wonderful people, set in a universe which is equally wonderful. And one I very, very much enjoy. It's like, I kind of want to talk about it here on like a hobby stream. So I know Max isn't interested in Battletech related stuff, and that's fine. And so I want to get the opinions of everyone else who's here watching a hobby stream. What do you guys think about Battletech and like the video games I've been playing of Battletech, so MechWarrior 5, MechWarrior Online. And Yeah, so I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I haven't really found the time to. But you know, I do have the BattleTech minis to paint up and work on. I just want to know if you guys would actually be interested in watching me paint the BattleTech minis as well. I know I've just thrown like a million questions at. So it's like, do you enjoy the MechWarrior games? Would you be interested in watching me paint the BattleTech minis? And what are your thoughts on BattleTech? I know that's like try and keep it focused to the 3 questions. God, I'm a great content creator, aren't I? Yeah, I suppose that's another, like, I guess an elephant at this point, isn't it? You guys have probably noticed the complete absence of the Imperial Knight stuff. And to put it very bluntly, and in like a very like anticlimactic way, I don't have the money to do the Imperial Knight hobbying stuff. Because when it comes to painting for knights, you know, it's like that stuff I can do. The thing is, we've got to a point where most of the knights are, but I already have our base coated in their colours. The thing is, like, one of the appeals and like one of the things that I know you guys really liked about the Imperial Knight streams was the fact that, you know, you guys got to help design and paint the knights. I don't have the knights to do that anymore. No, it's like, in terms of like things I used to be doing on the channel that I no longer do. It's like the Imperial Knight stuff is something that I've seen pop up a few times. And yeah, it's like you guys will have noticed that we have just taken that entire like formula and applied it to the Bretonnians. And going forwards, that's going to be like a yeah, the thing with the Bretonnian side of things is the yeah, I need to be able to buy the Bretonnians as well. We still have 6 Knights of the Realm to go in terms of painting them, but then after that I need to be able to buy Bretonnians, and you guys are all quite aware, I think, of the stocking issue when it comes to old world minis. So yeah, that's going to be interesting seeing how this plays out. So I also wanted to get opinions, especially as this is a Horus Heresy stream, on Solar Auxilia. What do you guys think of them and the release? And I hope chat's behaving for you now, Nick. It's the least you deserve. Okay. It's like, honestly, Nick, I don't understand how you've had so many issues. And I really, really do appreciate where you still commit to trying to watch your streams. I know I've set up YouTube streams as well, like, more or less specifically so you can watch over on YouTube when it's really struggling. It's just very difficult for me to moderate and look at the chat whilst doing the hobbying streams at the moment. So I need to get some more stuff in order to like have a better opportunity to read YouTube chat whilst at the hobby desk. And yes, Faz, this gold is very shiny. I love the Dark Star Metal paint range. It is just fantastic. Someone mentioned Helldivers as well. Who was it? Okay, I can't see it. Not working properly, and I'm missing chunks of chat. Kind of. I'm kind of answering people in a weird order. Helldivers is completely broken for me and doesn't work. To quickly summarize, so since the last stream, it's just stopped working. And yeah, take a break, Faz. Look after yourself. Oh god, this guy has bobbles on his. I completely missed the bobbles. Oh boy. Word bearers are pretty cool. I really like Erebus. Like as in I don't like him. I love hating him. I think it's the best way to put it. I really enjoy how well written of a bad character, like evil character, Erebus is. And I really, really, really enjoy hating Erebus. And that can be said for a lot, well, for word bearers generally, as well. But yeah, one of my favourite villains. Well, he's more like, in terms of like loving to hate him, yes. But he is more like Peter Baelish, isn't he? Erebus doesn't hold a candle for the rage I feel towards Manfred. Nice. Yeah, it's one of the things I'm not a fan of Bold Vampire Man. No one is. They say we are there lying. It would be fun to sit down and do some like creative writing, kind of homebrew-esque lore writing for Bretonia and the Assembly of Knights we're making. Kind of like what we did a while ago for the Imperial Knights, just without, you know, the map to go with it. Also, I want to quickly ask, who here does actually have Warhammer Total War 3? Yes, fine shits. Okay, so not Nick. So yeah, obviously I know you, Hamish, have Total War. Wait, how old is your computer, Nick? Like, I know it's like giving away like how old you are, but I'm surprised, unless you're like surprisingly young. I'm impressed. Well, Aberrant, that's kind of in line with what I want to do. As I've been thinking about it for a little while, I think it'd be really fun to just get 8 people to all play as factions within the Empire in a single multiplayer campaign on the Old World map. But not as a team. And, you know, just fully Game of Thrones it. Right? Whoever controls Reichland at the end of however many turns is the Emperor. And just see what happens. I think that would be a really entertaining concept for this series of streams. And, you know, it's just like, do a roulette of all the different playable lords to assign everyone a state, and then just go from there. So I think that'd be really funny. I can just imagine the Game of Thrones shenanigans. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the RPG looks like, because Warhammer Fantasy RPG has always been a pretty good system. And the world building the supplements and books of that have done have been infinitely useful. Mentioned it to a friend of mine when I had to explain Bretonian attitudes towards peasants for like 10 minutes after. Well, I mean, it's fairly easy to explain Bretonians' attitudes towards peasants. It's just medieval. Like, throw the clocks back 500 years. A pretty good idea of what they are like. Do you think the treatment of peasants was the same everywhere? Was a bit better in some places. So, for example, Bordello, my beloved, there is one of the only few places in the entirety of Bretonia which had what could be considered a middle class, wealthy peasantry, which could live the life of nobles despite not being of nobility. And generally speaking, the in Bordello, throughout history, the society has always been about, well, sailing and drinking, basically. And so, if you were particularly good at sailing, you're probably going to have a lot of respect from the nobility. When in Warhammer Fantasy's timeline, the End Times timeline, Alberic de Bordello, the guy you play as in Warhammer Total War as well, he was known for drinking with the peasants on days of celebration. And he'd also one of the few lords, dukes of Bretonia, who hadn't actually taken the Grail vow, or even a questing vow to go and seek the Grail. As he'd stayed in the city and was more closely aligned with the sea god Manan than the lady, to a sense as well, and therefore was a bit more connected with the people as well. Languia. Yes, but no one cares about Languia. Okay, I challenge you to find a picture of someone who's painted up an army of people from La Anguille. Go on, do it. Most armies you see are Couronne, Bordello, or Montfort. That's the thing for me, it's like why Bordello speaks to me so much is because of where I live. I live in the southwest of England. No matter where I go, within the southwest of England, the sea is always at most an hour and a half away drive. There's never really a place within the southwest and where you're not near the ocean, really. And it only takes me 10 minutes of cycling for me to get to a place with salt water. Hey Polinator and Mr. Jiggle, how's it going? So for me, the sea has always been rather important because I've always being close to it. And I don't really use Facebook or Instagram, so no, not really. I've heard like some people having issues connecting to it, but other than that, I don't really know. Well, do you reckon it locked people into their VR headsets? I suppose locked them out with their VR headsets. Although the idea of them like being stuck in it, like something like a Sword Art Online or the Amazing Digital Circus would be funny as well. But yeah. I mean, the Facebook group is a pretty good one to be going after. And no, I'm not going to call it by its other pretentious name. It's still a Facebook group in my mind. And yes, these are my Emperor's children. Yeah, so as I suppose for those of you who haven't seen my Emperor's Children before, I prefer having my Emperor's Children in a more retro pinky purple colour, rather than the more modern royal purple. Oh, here's one I painted earlier, which people in chat wonderfully called Zvidalon, because he's the second Eidolon or wannabe Eidolon. And yeah, really want to go for that old school colour scheme for them. Speaking of Eidolon, he's lurking in the background here as well. So I'm just going to move the camera out a bit because I think it's having difficulty focusing. Move that. Now the camera's in the way. Hopefully I have a better time now. Yeah, it's also been a while since we worked on these Mark IV. Assault Marines. So a recap, these are the plastic Mark IV Assault Marines. Mark IV Tactical Marines. that we made a 3D printable kit to upgrade into assault marines. Yeah. It's really interesting for me at the moment being into Warhammer, because I have zero interest in 40k at the moment. I'm not a huge fan of where the lore's going for 40k, and not really a fan of how the current editions of 40k plays. It's really fascinating because it's starting to get to a point where I just don't instantly recognize or understand some of the names of certain units anymore. It's like I'm really out of date when it comes to the names for Primaris units, and a lot of the new stuff coming out for the factions. It's like, yes, but that thing with a free word name, yes, I remember. Yeah, sure. Please explain to me what it is so I might actually remember. I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with the idea of there being, Tacticus, Phobos, and what's the name of it? Gravis. Yeah. It's like, in terms of like the idea that Mark 10 armor is modular, it makes sense. But it's still like a rapid departure, and kind of a jarring one away from what Space Marines have been. So, it's like, the Space Marines I grew up with, not to sound too much like a boomer, because I know quite a few of you are older than me. It's like, they're meant to be in Warhammer 40k. Space Marines are meant to be monks wearing actual fucking relics, right? The idea is they're wearing ancient suits of armor which have existed for thousands of years. If they're lucky, they might have something that's been newly produced. And the idea that their armor is something that, was taken off the corpse of a former battle brother, who had been given it in turn off the corpse of a previous battle brother, and so on, to a point where you get these really interesting mixes of different suits of armor merged together. And it's like, this is one of my old Mantis Warrior models. He's wearing Mark III, but he's an Assault Marine. Canonically, this never happened, but hey. He was a veteran of the Death Watch. Lost his arm in the process of being in the Death Watch, but hey. It's a very fun model to put together. And, it's like one of those things where 40k used to have this mysticism around it, and it's like every suit of armor was ancient and revered, and the new stuff was yes, probably more technologically sound, but incredibly difficult to produce and pretty rare, to a point where you'd probably see, it'd be this weird I guess, like, logic of the new recruits not getting the shiny new stuff. Because, it's too valuable to throw on them over the more seasoned veterans who'd be able to make better use of it. It's why you only see Mark 8 on, like, sergeants or the elite units, like your Stern Guard veterans. And then, like, you'd have this really interesting midpoint where, like, the more seasoned soldiers, the more capable soldiers in the Space Marine Force would have the older suits of armor, like Mark 4, the Mark 3, the Mark 5, the Mark 6. And all the weird mixes of that as well. And it kind of feels like that's been lost. It's like one of the things I really always enjoyed about building tactical Space Marines was, getting a box of, enough pieces to make 12 Space Marines, and then just kit bashing them, because you'd have the legs for Mark 4, Mark 5, Mark 6, Mark 7. You'd have the upper torsos for 4, 5, 6, 7. And the backpacks as well for all of those, and you could really like mix up and make these like really interesting combinations of armor where like every set of legs, every torso, every backpack, every helmet was from a different mark of armor. And it really like kind of told the story of just how old that armor was based off like what components were from what stuff. And it really helped ingrain the idea that the Space Marines aren't really that fit for purpose, and that they are using such legacy and ancient equipment. And that's kind of been lost with the Primaris Space Marines, because it is all shiny and new and standardized. And Space Marines are anything but, really. It's like, I know I'm saying that whilst painting, a bunch of guys in fresh Mark 10. But not Mark 10, Mark 4. For the Horus Heresy, but that's kind of the point. Is, everything's changed since the Horus Heresy. We no longer have entire worlds dedicated to producing a type of armor. It's like the Thousand Suns and the White Scars are the only people who use that fancy scarab helmet thingy that the Thousand Suns have, predominantly, because there was a planet in their area of control that produced that type of Mark IV specifically. And the White Scars used to use it as a relatively frequent rearming point, so they ended up having some of that as well. It's like there was a time during the Great Crusade in which everyone was relatively well equipped and, well armed and could have some kind of standardization, which is one of the main reasons why the Space Marines were so terrifying as a legion. Right, it wasn't just, a worst case scenario, 1,000 Space Marines who are all warrior monks equipped with whatever hand-me-downs they could salvage from the Armorium. It was hundreds of thousands of well-armed, well-equipped, well-trained warriors, all disciplined and organised into squads based off their skills and capabilities and equipped appropriately, not just with whatever they could find. And yeah, it's like the Horus Heresy has an appeal because of that. It is that time where Space Marines were as powerful as they could be. They had the equipment and they had the organisation to do all of those things. And 40k is not that time. 40k is always meant to be the time period in which, everything's gone bad, everything's wrong, nothing is good, and, humanity is desperately fighting to stay alive and get itself out of the hole it's buried itself in through its repeated stupid decisions. And the Primaris really just don't sit within that kind of logic and framework. It's like a reminder that the Imperium of Mankind is an absolutely terrible place to be, and it's entirely self-inflicted by the Imperium of Mankind. Like, through the incredibly stupid decisions made during the Great Crusade in, genociding and making enemies out of everyone. Through to the last 10,000 years of successively voting in, or electing in, or being controlled or puppeted by progressively worse and worse people in the High Lords of Terror, all becoming ever more increasingly selfish and power-hungry, and not giving a shit about the people in which they ruled over, as long as they managed to keep their seat in power. It's peaked with the Age of Apostasy and Goj Van Dyer, but it didn't really subside that much since then. And it's like, whilst Guilliman is now here, and he is a pivotal factor in the changing of the ways and the changing of times, he hasn't is the issue. What has Guilliman actually really done to affect the Imperium? What changes have there actually been to how the Imperium operates, how it runs, how it controls things, which actually justify suddenly having the ability to reforge legions of Space Marines? Because, yeah, cool. But we have Horus Heresy 2 Electric Boogaloo Primaris Edition when it comes to the Space Marine chapters. But, how on earth is that justified in terms of the logistics? It's how is the Imperium actually capable of supplying and equipping these guys? Because the excuse that Belisarius Core has been producing all of this stuff over the last 10,000 years still doesn't make sense for the vast amount of equipment that's being produced, the amount of Space Marines being Primaris-fied, the amount of new people who are becoming Primaris Space Marines. He definitely didn't have the facilities, capabilities, logistics, or anything on Mars in his secret laboratory to produce what is needed to field, equip, resupply, and arm all of these new Primaris Space Marines. There's not enough manufactoriums in the Imperium to be able to supply and, keep it all functioning. And then, yeah, there's the whole, I did it in secret, I just committed the ultimate heresy on Mars. I became the greatest heretic on Mars, and no one noticed the amount of blasphemy and the horrific crimes against the entirety of humanity I was committing on Mars. Yeah, but it still doesn't sit right with me, it still annoys me. Because there's also there's a significantly better way for them to have introduced Primaris Space Marines, and it really annoys me that they've never done it. Well, they didn't go for it, they didn't bother with it. Because this is the fun thing. Primaris Space Marines already existed. I'm not talking about the Alpha Legion. Hey Faz. Primaris Space Marines canonically existed in 40k before Primaris Space Marines did. As in the Mark 10 wearing weirdos existed. And it really, really annoys me. Because the Cursed Founding exists. And it's like, I know a lot of people only really know about the Cursed Founding because the Black Dragons, Lamenters, and those weird guys who catched on fire. But there was another Space Marine chapter that was part of the Cursed Founding called the Sons of Antaeus. And they was a successful product of the Cursed Founding, because the Cursed Founding was an attempt by the Mechanicum, all the willpower and knowledge combined of the entirety of the Autobiologists, to create a safer and easier way to reproduce the gene seed and make a more efficient production route for making Space Marines in general. Like, the three main points of the Cursed Founding as a project was to improve the stability of the gene seed. So make new gene seed that was significantly more stable and wouldn't deteriorate. To make it easier and quicker to produce Space Marines using said gene seed. And if possible, make the Space Marines bigger and stronger and more capable warriors. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's the exact same mission brief that Belisarius Cawl and Roboute Guilliman came up with in the new lore for 40k. And the thing is, the Sons of Antaeus are a Cursed Founding Space Marine chapter which succeeded at that in M36. There have been 4,000 years since the Cursed Founding in which there has been a Space Marine chapter solely and purely of what we would consider Primaris Space Marines around. We just don't hear about them because people want to hear more about the failures, the fuck-ups, you know, the Lamenters, the Black Dragons, the, what are they called? Flame Falcons, I think they were, the guys who, you know, spontaneously combusted. Like, those are the ones from the Cursed Founding you hear more about. But the Sons of Antaeus already existed. No, the Firehawks are the ones who got involved in the Badab War as a different chapter of people who spontaneously combusted. Yeah, it's confusing, but, you know, so when you have the Emperor's Scythes and the Scythes of the Emperor, you know, it's like, the naming of Space Marines isn't great. And, you know, it's like, what they could have done lore-wise is basically said, like, hey, look, for the last 4,000 years, we've been trying to work out what made the Sons of Antaeus successful. A young upstart within the Autobiologists cracked the code. He worked out what made the Sons of Antaeus successful, and with his research and his foundings, we were able to produce a new generation of Space Marines. Combine that with the new technology we've discovered from our successful raids into the deeper periphery, like, areas of the Imperium of Mankind, we're able to produce a new mark of armor. You know, working off all of the lost technology from the STCs and new technology we've developed over the centuries, we've been able to create a new suit of armor. We're calling it Mark 10. It's modular, it's, you know, flexible. And the name of this young, new tech priest is Belisarius Cawl. His contributions to the Imperium of Mankind and his evolution, his revolutionary new Space Marines made him the Fabricator General. Boom, done. Lore fixed. No issues whatsoever. It fits with the setting. And what they've done instead is not quite what you're saying there, Mr. Jiggle. It's, they've gone, holy shit, people really like the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy is doing really well. Wow, we're getting basically every single book in this series is a New York, and, you know, it's a New York Times bestseller. You know, it's like every single one is like, you know, Academy Award level writing. Everyone fucking loves every single Horus Heresy book we write. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add the Horus Heresy into 40k and not really think about it. So it's like the design language, the logic, the decision making behind all the Primaris Space Marines has always been to try and emulate the Horus Heresy. And, you know, the good guys specifically, it's basically, hey, let's take the Great Crusade and do it again. And this isn't just me making it up either. It's Jez Goodwin, who's, you know, a legendary concept artist and designer of, like, stuff for 40k, said, like, the entire logic behind how the Primaris Space Marines have been released, the design language and the choices that have gone into making them have been inspired by the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. It's why the helmet design is meant to be reminiscent of Mark IV. It's why, on release, they were all, you know, 10-man units of identical equipment loadouts. And why they were so plain and, you know, unadorned. It was to represent, you know, these are the fresh troops, these are the ones launching the crusade. You know, the fresh faces of the Great Crusade. And it was only with 9th edition and now 10th edition that we're starting to see the more flavorful evolutions and more chapter-specific variants and customizations to the Primaris to reflect on the chapters in which they belong to. Because it's now been, what, 250 years in the new living, ever-evolving timeline that 40k now finds itself in. And they are really just trying to give us Horus Heresy 2. And, you know, I find it funny, right? Because, you know, it's like, I'm here painting Horus Heresy miniatures. I don't like that. I really enjoyed 40k for its, its mysticism, the lack of knowing. You know, we don't know what the Custodians look like. We don't even know if the Primarchs were actually, you know, demigods, or if they were, you know, just the famous generals of the Emperor. You know, there was a time in which Primarch did actually mean Chapter Master. And War Master was just the title of whoever was leading a crusade. It's like War Master Solar Macarius is the correct title, not Lord Solar Macarius. It's interesting seeing how 40k's evolved because of the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy is still, like, by far my favourite setting to play in. Mostly because from a tabletop perspective, this is just old hammer, in quotation marks. Like, it feels weird to call it old hammer because I was a teenager, like, becoming an adult when this was still, a modern rule set, the current rule set for 40k. That's where my Mantis Warriors are from. And, it's like, in terms of gameplay, they decided to reinvent how 40k played in a new way. Because the core game designers stopped working for them. They started working at Warlord. Right? Making Bold Actions, Forest of Erewhon, the Doctor Who game, the Judge Dredd game, all of those other games, you know. Instead of carrying on with the rule set made by people who no longer worked for them, they decided we'd have a fresh start, a whole new beginning, take inspiration from the Age of Sigmar game, and go from there. And that new game system is one I just haven't really been able to find myself enjoying. It feels like so many of the decisions, like, based off my experience of playing 40k from 4th edition, is that 8th edition was the edition where they listened to the fans without thinking it through. It's like, oh, we want the game to be more simple, we don't want to have to worry about, like, what army points we bring. It's like, we want everything to be simple. We don't want to borrow this mechanic or this mechanic or this mechanic, we just want to play the game. And Games Workshop just went, yes, 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 yes. Oh, absolutely, yes. Let's just do that. Yep, sure. Cool. Without really thinking about it. There wasn't really a point where Games Workshop was like, hang a second. Why do we have this mechanic? Or it's like, yeah, actually, no. It's like, points values are actually pretty useful. And it really feels like Games Workshop just hasn't been in a position or capable of addressing the issues they've inflicted on themselves by just blindly going with whatever people said they wanted to see without really thinking it through. It's like, Warhammer 7th edition, like, wasn't exactly the most popular game edition ever, but it was also, you know, one of the more mature game systems. I think, for me personally, 5th edition is where Warhammer peaked, in terms of 40k. Even then, that was in a quotation marks now, especially since 8th edition, you know, a radical departure from the previous rule sets, but it's still relatively mature and simplified. And since then they added stuff back in that they realised, hang on a second, we actually really could do with. Or we actually have the opportunity to explore this further now. Let's do that. It was an evolution, whereas 8th was a hard reset and ultimately just a string of mistakes, I think. And it's resulted in a system where, kind of like trading card games, I felt myself making this comparison quite a few times now when it comes to 40k. But, you know, when I was younger, like any teenager, I was really interested in trading card games. My poison of choice was the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card games. And it rapidly got to a point where I couldn't keep up with the rules, because the rules were changing, because the tournament play had, you know, has complete control over how the game has evolved and developed. And it's just like, every time I went to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'd have to, like, you know, double check with my friends to make sure that the cards I was using weren't on a ban list. Hey, thanks for a follow. For a raid, from Crazy Mermaton Gaming. Thank you. Welcome on in. Hope you had a wonderful stream yourself. I'm being a bit of a boomer whilst painting my Emperor's Children, so sorry for the rambling, but you're just waltzed into. I also paint with gold trim on my boys. Pokemon Supremacy. Yeah, I have a complete card collection of the like first generation of Pokemon cards that I'm very proud of. I don't know if any of them are first edition cards. I still don't really know how you really tell what first editions ones are. I have a lot of the dark ones as well, the Team Rocket editions as well. I don't know if any of them hold any monetary value or not, but I'm not really interested in getting rid of them. But yeah, it's like with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like the constant state of the ban list, the tournament-driven meta to you know, determine like what's good, what's useful, what's viable, and then also the constant stream of new and thanks for a follow. The constant stream of new card releases with new game mechanics for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, yes, now with synchro summons. So synchro what now? It's like, yeah, synchro summons are a thing. It's like XY something. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done with this summoning nonsense. This is just getting far too ridiculous and complex. And like every new pack of cards seem to have a whole new and interesting game mechanic to it. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, this is getting too bloated and complex. I can't keep up. And the decks, like I have an Elemental Hero deck. I was a huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. And it just got to a point where there was no way for me to win games with my Elemental Hero deck for Yu-Gi-Oh! simply because they weren't new anymore. Because they were like 3 or 4 years out of date by the time I'd finished building that deck. I stood no chance. And that just put me off the game. I was like, I've stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I still have my cards. I've kept them because the artwork's nice on them. You know, it's like just to prove a point for the sake of it. You know, it's like, here's one of my Cyber Angels. Yeah, I just gave up on it. Yeah, it got too silly, too extreme. I couldn't keep up with buying the cards to make new decks to try and keep playing with a fair chance. And yeah, that's just 40k for me now. And it's like, Warhammer 40k has got to that point as well. It's like every release has become, you know, new armies have been introduced which aren't interesting to me. The units for the armies which I am interested in don't appeal to me. But I'm still kind of expected to buy them and play them, build them, paint them, play them, because that's what's going to give me a chance of winning. And for me, that's incredibly unpleasant in a game. Especially one that's like so expensive as Warhammer. And one which, you know, takes as much time and commitment as Warhammer. That's something which I find incredibly repulsive, the idea that I have to, you know, sit down and grind out minis in order to try and keep up with the meta if I want to have an army which is, you know, looks good and is unique to me. You know, it's like, I don't feel like I can comfortably take an army which I want to play to a game of Warhammer 40k and have a chance of winning. And that's not nice to me. It's like, I know it's not always about the winning, but at the same time, you know, it's like, if I go and play a game like tennis, I don't think the tennis racket I bring, or the shoes I wear, should determine whether or not I win the match of tennis. Right? It should be my personal skill and my capabilities as an individual which decide whether or not I win that match. And for a long time, 40k had that illusion to it. I'm not saying it was perfect. Like, 7th edition really was bad when it came to meta nonsense. Yeah, I recently got in touch with one of my friends I used to play a lot of games with in 6th and 7th edition. And we were reminiscing on it and how, like, he always used to find really fun ways to make silly lists that, like, exploited a certain game mechanic in a way that was just incredibly disruptive to a normal flow of games because he found it entertaining to do so. And yeah, it was fun. I never had a bad time playing against him because I knew if I found a way to counter his nonsense, it would be fun. It was never like I didn't bring that specific bolt gun on that specific unit which cost me the game. And yeah, it's like, to bring this back around, the Horus Heresy, whilst there are like certain units and like certain detachments which need balancing, you know, it's like the Contemptor Dreadnought spam, and like certain lists for the Imperial Fists, for example, that, you know, spam a certain unit. And if you play thematically, and you actually focus your armies around playing, you know, in like a like as difficult as it is to say, a lore accurate way. With something that feels thematically appropriate for your army in a way that makes sense. You aren't penalized for it in the same way you are in 40k at the moment. So I took part in a friendly narrative tournament during 9th edition. One of the people brought a list that was nothing but guard infantry and ran with Zefkor or Krieg, and thought it was funny as fuck except for 2 people who were known meta chasers. No bitching, in fact it was just their own field of tournament. God. And I managed to mess up my aimed around arm again. Yeah, it's competitive types always ruin the game. Like, without exception, competitive people ruin games because it no longer becomes a game with those types around. It's whilst you know, I'm very salty at Helldivers at the moment, because the fact the game doesn't run on my computer anymore for some reason, which I still can't work out. You know, it's like, it's one of the things I've been finding quite heartwarming to see, is how unified everyone in the Helldivers community seems to be around shunning and calling out and you know, effectively bullying meta chasers out of the community. See, that's the thing though, Hamish. It's like, I'm fully responsible for reminding you of how disgusting of a mechanic that is. You know, the idea that you know, the Death Guard can, you know, take the war crime weapons, have the cake and eat it, you know. It's like with the Death Guard Marines, you know, not suffering dangerous terrain checks, and able to just yeet themselves into buildings with their Alchem Flamers. But at the same time, that feels pretty fucking lore accurate to me, right? You're telling me the Death Guard wouldn't give a shit? Like, they would give a shit? They would be cautious about just yeeting themselves into buildings to fill them full of Alchem fire? Like, that seems pretty lore appropriate to me. It's like, oh look, there's a there's a heavy weapons squad in that building. I have a pair of flamethrowers in my hands that dispense like microbiological warfare napalm. I'm gonna jump into that building and cover them in it. Like, you know, it's you know, it's completely lore accurate and silly. It's also like a really dumb. It's also a really, you know, a dumb concept, because you have to get close enough to make that work. Yes, you're getting there quickly, but you still have to get there in order to pull off that nonsense. And so, in order to do that, you're probably going to have to bring some long-range firepower of your own, and immediately you've taken the edge off your spammy list because you're now bringing other stuff. And if your entire army is either artillery or close-ranged assault marines, the people who are more tactically flexible in the middle there are going to have a pretty good time against you. You know, it's like you've built your entire army on focusing on dealing with other artillery-styled units. There's naturally a weakness to your army because of that. And that's good, you know. You aren't just a jack-of-all-trades army which is just going to dominate everything. It's like with my Emperor's Children, like, you know, I'm painting Assault Marines. I have 2 more squads of Assault Marines for my Emperor's Children to paint up. I still have the Palatine Blade Aquila Jump Pack Marine squads. I still have Eidolon to finish. There's a very distinct theme to my guys, and that's Assault Marines. Because I'm playing Emperor's Children. I want my guys to, you know, be so focused on killing people with their swords that it comes at the disadvantage of I don't really have the firepower to back this up. Like, yes, I do have some units of long-range stuff I can throw at people. But, you know, they're going to be pretty fucking vulnerable to anyone who has half a brain cells. Like, oh look, that thing can deal with my tanks, let me blow that up. Oh great, now the entire Emperor's Children team can't deal with my tanks. And you just sit there laughing as you unload autocannons into me or Volkite or whatever it is. You know, there's a blatant weakness to my army because I themed it around my Legion. My Emperor's Children, I focus on melee because that's what the Emperor's Children, especially the traitors, do. And so there's, you know, fun there. And thank you, Colin, Painting Adventure, for a follow. Welcome, how's it going? Yeah, it's like, not sure where the model's got to now. I've been working on making my Emperor's Children army themed around Istvan III as the traitors, which is why I have Eidolon and I have Lucius as central figures that I'm working on for my Emperor's Children. I also have a model which I've been making of Chaplain Charmosian, the traitor chaplain which Lucius beheads in order to gain a Vox communication to betray the Loyalists.
New donation from Ark and Landlord likes Primarchs.
Thanks for the donation. Is there a message attached to this? Also, Jesus Christ. Thank you. Holy fuck, I just noticed how much that was for. Wow, okay. Yeah. Holy fuck. Alfarius soon, TM. Yeah, I guess so. Holy fuck, thank you so much for doing that, that's really kind. Well, that's completely caught me off guard. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll sort out getting Alfarius painted. Yeah, just a small curveball. Yeah, I was talking to Hamish about painting another model for him, and he really likes how I've done my Alpha Legion with this color shifting paint. It's kind of difficult to show the effect it has. I try and put the light at different angles a second. It goes from blue to purple, basically. And so, talking about apps painting up Alfarius, the Primarch, not Alfarius, up in the colours. Oh yeah, I suppose that's a deal then. Well, that's the thing. Canonically, it makes sense for them to be painted up in the indigo and green colours of the Legion book cover, because that is their colour scheme. And it's like how the Emperor's Children have gone from this pinky colour to royal purple. It's just something that Forge World decided to do at some point. And it's why I really like this paint. Unfortunately, just because of how, like, in quotation marks, well lit my hobby desk is, I can't show you what it looks like in off lighting. Yeah. It has a really nice, like, it looks this color goes from the, I'm trying to focus around and think past the fact that Hamish made that incredible donation. Sorry for revealing your alter ego, Harkin. This paint goes from the, like, Forge World blue, you can kind of see it at the shoulders, to the purple of the old art style, and yeah, the old look to the Alpha Legion. Oh, it would be someone like you who would, you know, call it the Lands Raider as well. So, you know, I suppose it's not too much of a surprise, considering how everything about you is Lupercat themed. Thing is, whenever I think of Arkan Land, all I can think of is that clip of the Yogscast talking about Arkan Land and the Land Raider, and then all the other silly tech priests I came up with silly names, who named the other things. It's just such a funny moment. I mean, it's also like such an unnecessary piece of lore development, right? To call it like Lands Raider. It's a tank that's meant to raid land, and so it's called a Land Raider. Like, it made perfect sense beforehand It didn't need to be Arkenland's Raider. I mean, if we ever get around to doing Horus properly, so that we could do Horus Lupercat, then yeah, I would 3D print a head. I'm not sure what kind of... I'm not sure I could name a price on painting Horus Ascendant, though. Like, that model terrifies me. Like, that's not a model I want to put paint on. To be honest, it's not really a model I want to build because of how fiddly and thin and fine the detail is on that model. Yeah, but Forge World models are just brilliant. I'm still incredibly glad I got my Fulgrim model so cheap back in the day. Because I would not want to spend the current day money on the Fulgrim model, despite how beautiful it is. On the old Fulgrim model, I should add. I still need to buy the transfigured one at some point. Then I also need to find someone who'd be willing to play against it in a game. Because I think that's going to be a challenge as well. Because yeah, but the logistics around Demon Primarch Fulgrim. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, how do I transport that model around? Because like, I know I've talked about it before. It's been a while, so hey. It's like, I cycle everywhere. I'm not a wearing weirdo, but I do cycle everywhere. And thankfully for me, the army boxes but I do have fit really nice on the pannier rack on my bike, so I can easily cycle into the nearest town to go play Warhammer. I cannot see how I would be able to fit the Demon Primarch model of Fulgrim into a box. It's like, meanwhile, regular Fulgrim, you know, there we go. This is him on a 40mm base, which he should be on. Now, that's not actually that difficult to pack away, because he's, you know, like maybe 2-3 times taller than a normal Space Marine, but it's not difficult. You know, it's like you put Eidolon next to him. Obviously, Eidolon doesn't have his head here yet, but you know, we're not actually that different in size. Which I think is, you know, just Eidolon compensating by standing on a particularly large rock in order to make himself feel that way. But, yeah. I mean, there's definitely 3D printable files out there which could make that happen. And what I'd do is yeah, it's smaller than a Dreadnought. This would be a old Death Guard Dreadnought. The sword's taller. Although kind of difficult to show that perspectives. Yeah, he's slightly taller than a Dreadnought because of his sword, but yeah, you know, he's not that much bigger. Whereas the Demon one is huge, and I'm not really interested in trying to work out the logistics of that one. It's like the logistics on my Titan are actually really simple. It fits into a simple box really easily because of how I magnetized it. I'm not sure I could easily magnetize the Demon Fulgrim model because of how thin the parts are. And yeah, good point. Although this is my army's themed around before that happens. And yeah, me too. It's going to be interesting to see what changes they make to him in order to justify him being a different model. That's going to be really funny. I'm terrified of transporting Pegasus models. Well, here's the thing, right? Alright, here's a Bretonnian Pegasus. You know, made even worse because of this. Here's what you do. You just take the model apart. There you go. You can now neatly put it away in your army box relatively easily. Because good luck breaking these wings off. If you glued them properly, these are not coming off. You're going to bend them in half before they come off. And, you know, this is a very reliable base for holding one you don't need to glue them to. And the models do sit very tightly on the Pegasus as well, so... Oh, so I turn the light back around. There we go. Yeah, I think the Fulgrim model they make will be the one which they use to represent him fighting Gilliman. That artwork. Oh yeah, it's going to be an absolutely incredible model. Maybe they might do it like they did Magnus and have the armor being in quotation marks optional. That would be entertaining. There's also one of the things I've been thinking about. It's like really unfortunate for Magnus that his model came out when he did. Because like once all the other Primarchs have their models, his model is going to be the weakest looking. Just because of how far the quality and the design of models has come since his was made. Mortarion and Magnus because I lost a bet. That's an expensive bet. Actually, that's a point. Hamish, when are you gonna come and pick up Garrow? Hey, this weekend? Yeah, sure. Actually, it works out really well. Well, Saturday would be best. Well, I mean, strictly speaking, you could argue that the Votan, you know, do have elements of the Men of Iron to them. Because their robot buddies aren't exactly innocent, are they? True. Oh, speaking of that, do you guys remember the army I was building for a not out army? You know, building the Comstar from BattleTech using miniatures which are playable in 40k. Tell me this doesn't look like a Helldiver. Like, all this guy is missing is a cape, right? As the thing is, I have a load of these minis, which I've printed out, ready for that Tau army. Including ones which, you know, still just bare resin. I could quite easily paint them up as Helldivers, right? I mean, that's basically just like playing as level 50. You know, it's like once you unlocked all the stuff. Well, when Helldivers worked, it was a fantastic game which I really enjoyed playing. I think you guys may have noticed that on the streams last week. Yeah, also, actually, that's a point. Now that there's actually a bunch of you here for a change, which is nice. Hi. I wanted to talk about why Minecraft has been on the voting list for a while. And I had the idea inspired by a YouTuber I watch. Try and put together a Minecraft mod pack, which is just Warhammer Fantasy. I thought it'd be a fun idea to try and put together a mod pack which has like all the stuff needed to basically play out Warhammer Fantasy in Minecraft. Because there's an excellent mod which I really love for Minecraft called Mine Colonies, which you guys probably remember. Which allows you to like build like settlements and like have like knights and archers and stuff. And you know, it's like you can build like an entire like fortress city and really cool stuff. There's also some really incredible magic mods as well, and like ways to have like orcs and vampires and all sorts around. And you already have the skeletons and the zombies. And so yeah, I've been slowly trying to put together yeah. A mod pack really focused around the fantasy element of things. I think it would be a lot of fun as like a concept, especially for like a multiplayer community thing. Because, you know, it's like I could like shamelessly definitely not be making Borderlo, right? And then across the mountains could have someone building their own colony that's definitely not the Empire. And you know, it's like we could have a lot of fun with like different themes and stuff, and like it could have some weirdo in the mountains laughing as Heinrich Kemmler doing all the like fleshcraft biomancy stuff as well. I also like the idea of like getting a bunch of people together to play Mine Colonies. Focusing on the mod. And I basically give them all like different districts and like different like focuses on. Like, hey, your district is the metallurgy district, so like you need to like put together a settlement of like miners and blacksmiths and stuff, and you know, build the accommodation for them. Let's have like one big settlement managed by multiple people. Because I know the last time we were playing Minecraft on the channel, we were going for like a Soviet theme. And as fun as that like little series was, I guess the best way to put it is I've become a bit more conscious around cultures and the appropriate nature of doing something like that whilst, you know, certain real world current events are going on. And it's kind of sapped the enjoyment out of it, because like whilst yes I was, you know, making a very blatant attempt to be like over top silly with it and like really like point out how bad and horrible it is, what was going on, well, what is going on, was starting to get to me a bit over it all. So that's another reason why I stopped playing Armour as well, because a lot of that's Cold War focused. So yeah, thought about approaching Minecraft from a different angle, a more fantastical angle. It's like in my mind for Warhammer Fantasy, like Minecraft stuff. Like, I like the idea of it like being a colony of dwarves because you can have a colony of dwarves. Like making Bretonia, having the Empire, having the vampires around. Like you really could have fun with the different factions and stuff, and like it would be like fun, like as like a basis for a roleplay. If we could get the people together to do it. I think we've reached the end of that music playlist. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, a couple of show models to build. Normally I want to build like Lord Discordant on Bloodstone. Yes. Valentine needs. Yeah, no worries. I mean, this is probably the last model we're going to do today in terms of Tremon. And then tomorrow we'll be back to Fair Bretonia. Old World Wednesdays. Yeah, it's been nice having you two around. have a wonderful rest, and yeah, catch you guys tomorrow or whenever. Right, well, that's for trim done, and I think I've gone through most of the conversation points I wanted to talk about today. Obviously, if you guys want to talk more about certain points, we have a Discord server. So if you are new around here, make sure to check that one out. !Discord in chat. Also make sure to hit follow. I do a lot of Warhammer and Battletech related stuff, so if either of those things sound interesting to you, it's definitely worth hitting follow for. Yeah, thanks for the follow, Scruffy Ranger. We will be carrying on with these guys in the near future as well. Probably Saturday, I think, depending on what happens Saturday. So tomorrow will be Bretonnians. Thursday is, well, I kind of have to force myself to take a day off at some point, and it's going to be Thursdays. Friday will be MechWarrior Online, as always, for the Total MechWarrior Online Fridays. Saturday could be anything, so it'll probably be down to my Discord community to vote on that, like I normally do on days, which isn't a fixed thing to do. And then Sunday, I'm not sure what we'll do yet. There'll probably be another Discord vote as well. So yeah, make sure to join the Discord server if you have a preference on what you'd like to see. It could be this, it could be painting. Yeah, it could be painting the Emperor's Children, could be painting the Bretonnians, could be playing a video game like Warhammer Total War or MechWarrior 5 or something like that. And yeah. You do really enjoy this content and you do want to help me out, the best way to do so is via Ko-fi, like the legendary Hamish Lupercat in chat did today with his incredibly generous donation, although it is for a commission really to paint Alfarius, but if you do want to help me out and support me in doing what I do, Ko-fi is the best way to do it. Although there are the usual things like subscribing here on Twitch as well, which gets you, you know, all the usual benefits of emotes and stuff, and supporting me on Ko-fi and on Twitch, and well, I would say YouTube, but not on YouTube, does give you access to STL files that I commission for my Warhammer projects as well. So like the helmets you've been seeing on these Emperor's Children. The STL file for these is on my Discord server, so if you want these old retro style Mark 6 styled grilled helmets from Visions of Heresy, that's where you'll find them. And yeah, I think that's kind of it for the usual end of stream spiel. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you've had a nice time talking with me whilst I painfully paint gold trim on my Assault Marines. Next time it'll probably be painting white, I've got the feeling, as I need to paint for chainsword blades. and then also the glow and the gem packs as well before you start doing the rest of the metallics. So hopefully you'll join me for that. And until then, have a wonderful time, and yeah, see you all tomorrow.